So welcome to this episode of Rumble. My guest today, hard to put him into a box. I mean, I don't think any box will fit. He won't fit into all those boxes. Only multiple boxes. So his name is Mohan Ram Kumar. Sometimes I call him Ram Kumar Mohan. It's Ram Mohan Kumar. It's all he accepts and responds to all these names. But if I ask him, what do you do right now? He'll say, I'm working on television. So let's start from what he's doing right now and then go back into the past. So you are now doing a program, or you're working on a talk show. Tell me how. What's the basis of that show? What makes that show unique?
It's one of the. It tries to pitch two sides.
Okay.
Most of them might not be quite clear in their minds about what they are talking, but still, it tries to bring.
But aren't those the nicest people to have on a show? Not really sure about what they're talking about. You want to have people who are very.
It's not about the people being nice or whatever. It's like an intellectual cockfight, I should say.
Okay.
The show is more of an intellectual cockfight and less of a conversation.
So they can switch sides also if they wish to, or that doesn't happen. You got clear.
Sometimes it does happen.
Okay.
The guy would sit there on one side and he would like to talk the talk.
Or he doesn't agree with this form of view and like to switch over the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And with myself, I used to, whenever I appear on the show, I used to tell everybody, I can talk on either side.
Okay. So these arguments are not basically about truth and untruths, falsehoods.
Not exactly truth. It's about opinions. How you put yourself forward.
Okay, so it's opinions, basically.
How you put
so what's the format of the show and what's it called?
It's Neeya Naana.
Oh, Neeya Naana, right. That's the one from...
It's about you and me.
Okay.
Between you and me, or you against me. You can. The term can be interpreted in any way.
Okay, so what's the format of the show? You have
a bunch of guys on two sides and there is a moderator in between.
Okay.
And he tries to egg them on into a debate.
So who tosses the subject in, or is that something that's decided in advance?
Tosses is the director, Antony.
Okay.
He decides on the subject.
So you pick a topic and say, for the next show, this is what we're going to discuss.
Yeah.
So, and is there anything that limits you in the sense? I mean, some topics
some
which
topics
work better
which might be too controversial, they might limit the conversation.
So you'll stay out of politics and personality driven.
Obviously, all quite controversial things are off bounds. But they do fairly go into all kinds of subtle.
So what is the? It's mixed audience or participants rather.
Participants, most of them are from IT and.
The IT industry.
IT people,
modern, all right, youngsters,
modern youngsters, who are between two different cultures, who are modernizing fast and who are not yet gotten away from their
roots
and from their prejudices, one should say.
Okay.
And the show simply kicks on.
Give me a random topic. I mean, just an odd one that springs to your mind. Say that was one particular show that really.
I was to a large extent cynical about it right from the beginning, and I never ever watched the show fully. Okay. Every time I switch on the show, and after that, let's say
this is you as a participant.
Yeah, I used to just get bored with the kind of arguments that go on, and
but what are the ones? But I believe the show is a very successful show.
It's a very successful show, and I believe it's for the people who are lazy to read books, who are lazy enough, who are not much into books.
Okay.
And they do get into.
But if they're not into books, then where do they find the ammunition to fire at each other?
It's not much about ammunition.
No knowledge required? Specialized knowledge about anything?
Not much. It's not about specialized knowledge, and the topics mostly. The one good thing about Neeya Naana is that it might begin with one topic and might end up being another altogether.
Okay.
In the beginning, the program, the anchor would announce, right now today we are going to.
So what's the area of subject, if you want to call it that, which draws the maximum, I would say, involvement from both sides? Mm-hmm. Is it man-woman question? Is it knowledge questions?
To a large extent, love, man-woman.
Yeah.
And sometimes family things.
Okay.
And certain modern.
The usual
fashionable topics also do very well, like. Let's say what do you say, dressing.
Okay. Oh, okay. That way fashionable. It's not that it's fashionable to talk about something. But I mean, is the human relation situations are the one that's most...
yeah, they are the ones. And
that draws the maximum...
To a large extent, the traditional family bondage, the breakage of families.
Okay.
The strife within family. It all gets into create the drama.
Okay.
Mostly the show runs on...
is it cooked?
Not much. But there is an amount of
cooking
direction given to the show actually.
Okay.
It doesn't go on its own. There is this director who is a very headstrong person with his own strong ideological
obviously
content.
He is the captain of the ship.
Yeah, so. And he drives the show in a particular direction. And he has his own agenda, which is not actually a controversial or anything.
Okay.
To a large extent, a conservative agenda, and together with some sprinkling of liberal ideas, and he does accept variable points of view.
Okay.
So that keeps the show going, and the traditionalist point of view is what gives it the kind of vigor,
the traditional point gives it the vigor.
Yeah, that's what I believe.
Okay.
I believe about the director, I should say.
Okay.
He has a...
So what's I know you said IT people generally taking part in it, but the audience who is sitting at home, who are they? Who get drawn into these kind of...
Mostly they are the semi-educated people, I should say. So the ones who have been taught to think of themselves as intelligent and progressive.
Okay.
But haven't yet grown out of their tradition. They are the right kind of...
So at least they are the people who are willing to watch a show, which is not only cinema and...
Mostly the professionals and aspiring professionals. Like, in my experience, I find that most of the doctors do watch the show.
All right.
And a lot of policemen do watch the show.
Oh, I see.
A lot of policemen accost me on the road and say, "Sir, I have seen you in so much." By the time I would have been sweating in my shirt. Why is this policeman stopping me midway?
So he watched you while you talk about some controversial topic or something?
They might have. I don't know. I don't exactly remember. And the thing that really disappoints me about the audience of the show is that they don't remember what I had spoken. It happens in most of the times. I just ask them, what was the show you have
one that you just saw and left?
Yeah.
Do you remember it? No.
They simply say you have spoken well and good. You have very passionate.
So well, obviously, whatever you're talking about,
it's like intellectual fireworks,
or mother-in-law, daughter-in-law problem. They won't.
No. I don't go into those stuff. I never.
Well, what are the kind of topics? Anyway, so you know what this guy's been doing. He's got into this show, but how did he end up doing a show like this and writing controversial lines when the topic is not even controversial?
Controversial.
Not even controversial, but generates a kind of controversy. We shall find out when we come back. This particular show, at least, many episodes of it. It's been a long-running show, isn't it been?
It's been nearly almost nearing 10 years.
10 years in the making. And you've been involved with it for a long time?
No, not much. I've been there inside the show for a couple of years, or at most.
But and what's the frequency?
But I was in touch with the director for the...
What's the frequency of the show? Is it once a day, twice a week?
Weekly. It's a weekly.
Weekly.
Sunday.
All right. So even 5 years would mean about 250 shows you're talking about.
500 shows, nearing 500 shows.
All right. That's a lot of topics that you guys have covered, or you were rehashing what you hashed once.
Obviously, has to be done.
Okay. So you've been watching the show at close range, in the sense you've been partly in the scripting side, partly involved in the show itself as a participant.
Technically, I'm called the input editor over there.
All right. So now let me get some outputs from you. What, in your opinion, what is required for an anchor to be successful in a talk show? Because it's not just a one-on-one what we're doing. When you're doing a show with a lot of people.
I don't know whether I can pass judgment on anchoring because I myself am a failed anchor. Tried it a couple of times and understood that I'm not fit. No, not cut to that trade. And
so you recognize that there are certain traits required and you don't have it.
Yeah,
so what did you see in this man?
He's quite tolerant. And he's Gopi is quite open to contradictory opinions. and he's open to something that's been said in a well put manner, something that's said in a nice way, something that catches him.
Okay.
And he's quite quick in his responses.
So
the reflex, I should say, his intellectual reflex is so strong.
So that's what makes it. That's what makes the show.
Point about it, I should say.
Okay. So this I would understand is partly scripted, or is it entirely scripted?
It's not at all scripted, I should say.
Okay.
They have a vague idea. The director has a vague idea about how the show has to go, but beyond that, he doesn't decide on how
the content that's being said.
But he knows when the show is going off hook, or when the show is not going in the right direction, whatever.
Okay.
He has quite a good nuanced understanding of Tamil population, the pulse of the modern people.
Okay.
And when he can...
So when you said you recognize yourself as not particularly good for television anchoring.
Good material.
So there's something that made you say that. And what was in your shortcomings that you were...
the thing that made me somewhat of a celebrity on Neeya Naana is my passion about what I talk.
Okay.
Like, get me into a subject, into some depth, and I might become very passionate. Like my friends,
would you jump out of your chair, rush across and punch him in the face?
Might have happened, but I'd never got the courage to do that. Okay. But I might do that. I had been delivering a lot of intellectual punches that way to the opponents, and that's something got
that's what hooked you onto the show.
Yeah,
so the people, the watching public, I'm really interested, because shows like this can only work if the audience appreciate all that, or all that goes over their head.
Every era had its own way, a kind of cockfight. The Romans had their gladiators. And,
I know.
And the Americans have.
And also, for you to become, and this is also for all you guys who got dreams of becoming a scriptwriter like him, want to run a show, conceptualize something that's interesting. What is it in your earlier background that made you feel that you can handle this? Does it mean that you have traveled a lot? Does it mean you've read a lot? Have you argued a lot?
Both together. Like I was a born arguer, I should say. I was a born confrontationalist.
Okay.
Confrontation is my right element, I believe.
Okay.
Like I can tell you any number of instances of good opponents of mine who have tried to become my friends and lost my respect for them.
Okay.
And
so you don't want all these artificial scenes of them being nice to you.
Whatever,
be yourself.
Whatever. I have no use for friendships.
Okay.
So that's what made me a good Neeya Naana material, I believe. And to some extent, I believe the guiding genius of Neeya Naana is also made of a similar material. That's how we got on well together.
Okay.
We were on good terms, and kind of we used to have a lot of arguments off screen.
But good natured arguments.
On the roads.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All the time. And to some extent, it does require a kind of a sportive spirit where you take.
So where did you pick up the inclination to be argumentative, or is it because that you didn't do the conventional job as what everybody?
It's my physical weakness, I believe. As a toddler, I was a very weak person.
Okay.
When I was born, the doctors predicted that I might not live more than 3 days. And
You've beaten that by a
long time. I've outlived all the medical predictions. Yep.
All the doctors who predicted also.
And that's one reason why I lost confidence, or what should I say? I lost any kind of respect for the medical profession also.
Okay. You mean because they didn't even get it right?
None of their predictions has come true.
Okay. And I believe you even tried your hand at trying to be a medical student, or even trying to become a doctor. Did you?
It was for my generation, it was the chick thing to do.
I know.
To become a doctor. It was the
white coat.
Yeah.
Stethoscope.
Wear a coat, stethoscope.
Okay. All right.
And,
so you joined and you chucked it up.
Yeah.
Because you didn't like medicine as a subject, or you don't want to study.
I was bored with it.
You were bored, so it didn't challenge you.
I had not much I should say I'm inherently a misanthrope.
Okay.
I had not much of affection for any human being, whoever.
Okay. So you're not fired up with passion to cure people, look after them?
I was never a healer.
None of those things really appeal to you?
Not
so it's good that you recognized early and you skipped out.
Obviously. And so that's it. My physical weakness seems to have given me, when you're weak in one dimension, you naturally try to compensate with another thing.
Yeah, you got bad legs, everybody has long arms.
Yeah, and I took up this argumentation thing because it's quite easy.
Okay, guys, there's a profession and a career lying everywhere, just waiting to be recognized and picked up. So we come back, we find out what else did he do between chucking up his medicine and ending up as a television personality. Let's see what he did. So after you chucked up your conventional educations and medicine you didn't want to do, did you go into any other profession? Any other professional course?
I wanted to be a writer, basically.
Okay.
Becoming a writer was my passion right from my school.
Or it's not something that you say, okay, last resort for the scoundrel is politics, so let me be a writer?
No way, because it was a lazy guys.
Okay.
It was maybe the refuge of the scoundrel might be a good way of describing it. But then I was passionate about books,
Okay.
My only companions were always books.
But you lived in a small town in Andhra, right?
No.
Or then you moved into
Hyderabad
Chennai?
was not a small
town.
I was born into a small town, but I grew up in Hyderabad and I grew up in a very highly fermenting, I should say, very controversial times when NTR was the chief minister over there. Naxalite movement was coming up and there was fire.
So there's enough happening to keep you...
Yeah, I had picked up the intellectual currents that were...
So did you use all those skills of different types that you had into earning any money?
Not much. I was never behind money. I guess.
I mean, you needed to just buy your rice and dal and whatever. So you know that you can't live without money. So how did you manage that?
Well,
Parents?
I had somebody funding me.
Okay.
You could say it's a good vision. Sometimes whenever I would not like to divulge the name, I just say it's my guardian angel.
Okay.
Who used to fund my survival, and they or she had a.
And then you had what intrigued me about some earlier conversations we've had is that you talked about your theory of neoteny and then matriarchy, which really fires you up. Every time matriarchy comes up, your eyes light up, all your hair stands up in edge because for you that is the way to live. Matriarchy really fires you.
Well, matriarchy was something which earned my way. Was the currency with which I earned my way into women's hearts, I should say.
Okay.
That was something...
you think every woman secretly harbors this wish to be part of a matriarchal system as opposed to...
Actually,
is it only to do with power?
They are running actually a micro level matriarchal system. Every woman tries to run that in her own home.
In a home, yeah.
But when you try to extrapolate it to a grander scale, that's where the problem really crops up because the men are not cooperating. The men become insecure.
So how come in Kerala and Manipur or some place where they're just lazy men? They don't mind when the women take over and run it and just let me have my meal?
No. It's a very, very sophisticated lifestyle once. It might be a difficult thing to get into. But once you get into the system, I think it's very cozy.
But look at
all the tribal societies were matriarchal.
I know, but look at Kerala. They come out of it. Reverted back to the...
They didn't come out of it by themselves. There was an external system which pulled them out of it.
That's what I mean, it was open to be broken.
Because matriarchy gives freedom to men, women, everybody. So...
such systems are not good?
Polygyny, polyandry, everything is allowed. So what's the hell is the problem?
Why was it broken? Why would it be?
Because matriarchy is a very unstable system. Matriarchal lifestyle can be sustained only in, I would call them high voltage environments.
Alright.
Where you have
explain that? What is a high voltage environment?
Matriarchy was possible always. Throughout history, matriarchy was possible only for certain types of peoples.
Okay.
Like people who live on a hilly place. The plains people were always patriarchal. But people who can escape into, it's like hit and runs, the guerrilla warfare, all these kinds of things. matriarchy can pull up a society where you have very strong, very tightly knit small bands of
okay.
So these conquering peoples.
Like you're talking about these Maoists and these kind
no,
of.
nowhere related.
Are they also
Nowhere
matriarchal?
related. Nowhere related. I was quite in my beginning stages. I was quite
enamored of
angry with communists because they were the Kerala communists were the ones who pulled Kerala out of matriarchy, I should say.
Okay.
Although Engels had proposed matriarchy as the primary stage of family and as the but he had stopped short of calling it the ideal family.
Okay. So those early writers, Engels, Marx, they have really opinions on matriarchy as part of this whole thing.
Yeah, they tried to put it up on the stage.
So how come Bengal never went into it? It's a purely communist state with all these communist ideas.
No. Actually, if you want to put it that way, I would say most of the communist-inspired states were matriarchal in their beginnings.
Okay.
I would like to draw a line crisscrossing India from northeastern corner to southwestern corner.
Okay.
And the people below this corner
or
were all matriarchal.
Or to the right
and
of
they
the line.
went into the communist movement. The people above this line.
Or to the left of the line. Okay.
The left of the line actually turned out to be the right, and the current right actually derives its whole.
Okay, so they
overpowered
the other communities who had matriarchy.
Yeah, matriarchy can survive only in small pockets. That's the biggest weakness that matriarchy.
So let's say that's doomed to failure in any case because society is going to get larger and larger.
Might not be. I believe in future when men and women want to live free lives, obviously matriarchy is the only solution. Well, what else?
Alright, I don't know if you guys understand matriarchy, but just to understand the line of his arguments, it's not just the woman can do whatever the hell she feels like. Men
obviously
are part of the whole system. But she has a little more power, a little more say in matters. So, what would you say to somebody, a youngster growing up, if he's not growing up in a city? Would he naturally lean towards matriarchy, or is that something that has to be taught to him?
No, you need to be highly civilized to be matriarchal.
Okay, that eliminates a lot of India.
You need to be ultra civilized to be able to allow your girlfriend to sleep with another of your boyfriends, like you say.
Okay.
It's something that requires highest amount of civilization.
So is it only the sexual aspect of it that is
obviously sex has a very
it has, but I mean, is that what will define?
It's the clenching, it's the keystone, I should say.
Okay.
It's obviously the
so
keystone.
Without that kind of liberal thinking in you,
without polyandry there cannot be any matriarchy, and even with polyandry there might not be matriarchy, but still polyandry obviously leads to matriarchy. That's what I believe.
All right, Mohan, lovely talking to you, and I like your whole ideas about television and how programming and how it is done. We just watch it, we don't know how it actually. So to know that it requires an anchor who's quick on the uptake, can make things move along, and not everybody is suited for it. That's also good advice. So that's great. So lovely having you, Mohan.
Thank you.
Let's meet again some other time.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.